What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Naia Lax Updates. How are we doing today, Tucker?
We're doing great. The Arctic tundra of Iowa has returned. Just had some celebratory Sunday evening, almost Wisconsin cheese curds. So we're going great. There's a lot of lacrosse to discuss. Some surprising lacrosse. We would like to open up by saying that we were 3 for 3 on our picks for the weekend. So
Money.
That's exciting. You know, we got that. We got that one down. We can address all those more, but life is good. The podcast is back. The pod continues. NAI lacrosse does not sleep. Hashtag NAI Lax don't sleep. And we're back. How about yourself? How are you? Did some high school coaching. I saw a nice little family lacrosse picture there on your Instagram. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So for those of y'all that don't know, I'm an assistant coach now. Don't want to talk about the game too much. We don't have a face-off guy right now. It's going to be that way for first little bit of the season. So when you go like 1 for 14 on face-offs, it's not ideal, but we're going to get back after it tomorrow in practice, work on getting a pole to take some face-offs, and yeah, we'll go from there.
So what you're telling me is you do not have any high school eligibility left.
Unfortunately, I don't. I would have loved laid the body on some of those kids, but it's what it is.
That's all right. Life lives on.
All right, so getting on to the NAI portion of the show, you want to start out with points weekend?
Yeah, let's okay, so Tennessee Wesleyan point travels down to Tennessee Wesleyan. We were, full disclosure, hoping for a stream on that one, but did not see a stream, unfortunately. Maybe some sick TWU highlights will come out here. But unfortunately, no stream on that one. If you guys were checking for it, we didn't find one either, so you're not the only one lost. However, our score prediction was very accurate for this game. We were just discussing pre-show that both of us were on within about a goal on each end. Tennessee Wesleyan ends up winning that game 22-3 over Point. And I think the 3 goals coming from Point, the interesting thing, that was not the player I think we expected the 3 goals from. So I guess that's an even more interesting piece about Point there. But what are your thoughts kind of overall? I know, and again, like, I guess with our prediction being pretty close in this game, there's not too much to break down, but what did you see from the stat line or anything interesting?
I mean, it was about what we expected. Tennessee Wesleyan looks like they had 4 guys with at least 3 goals each. The face-off guy, Gacior, had 18 ground balls. So I don't know. I didn't look at the final face-off stats, but I'm guessing he won almost all of them at that point. I would say, from a point perspective, this game went about what I was thinking it would. But the more concerning one was they also played shorter this week. And for those of y'all who watched last week's episode, Reinhardt beat Shorter 30-2. Well, Shorter beat Point, I think 26-2 or something like that. So yeah, it looks like we're looking at about a 50 goal deficit from the top of our league to the bottom right now.
Yeah, that was shocking to me too. I didn't realize that Point was even playing shorter until you had put that score up there. And yeah, my first reaction was reading that score being like, wait a minute, that's not good. So that's I think that's a very interesting storyline, and we can touch more on Reinhardt, you know, and their kind of their scoring momentum, but that just alone, the point differential there is pretty extreme.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think Point needs to do to get back on track a little bit?
You know, I don't know. That's a good question. I think you had talked about this previously on an episode about kind of Points in a very rebuilding stage. I think they're even in a stage where people didn't expect them to continue to exist. But the coach did put together a roster and has some numbers on there. I took some time to kind of scroll through the roster and do a little bit more research on their players and try to figure some stuff out. I honestly, I think they are just in a position where they need to build out that roster they have, which seems to be pretty young. And on top of that, maybe add some more kind of key guys, whether it be transfers, whatever it may be. I mean, they're competing against a lot of really, really good teams in that conference. And just the way it goes is they have to expect that the talent level around them is only going to get better and better and better as the years go on. So I think that they're almost in like a first year program stage in a rebuilding era. So I think for them, it's really going to take time and, trial by fire. They're playing a lot of really good teams early. So, props to them for that. But I really do think for Point, it's time. Time is what's going to build that program.
Absolutely. It is kind of just a time thing where this year the record's probably not going to be great, but just that they're playing lacrosse is big.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I think the biggest positive of the program, if we don't even look at the T-Dub score, is that they put together a team. They're competing this year. Their program lives on. There's life in that program, and it continues on. I think that's the biggest positive takeaway there. I think on the T-Dub side, they got an offensive momentum going. They are scoring goals. I don't care what team you play. If you can put in 22 goals, that's a pretty impressive, amount of goals to put in. So, that game's an interesting one. Again, I think it is what you and I had expected to a very close amount, which is wild, but excited to see that both teams got the year started, and that they're both healthy from what I understand right now. So that's a good thing to see early on.
Agreed. And then moving on, kind of the middle of the day game yesterday was the Reinhardt versus Georgia Tech one. What were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, Reinhardt. No, that was exciting. I also appreciated the random Instagram stories coming in all over the place of the Reinhardt national championship rings, and really liked the one with the 4 rings on one hand. That was an impressive look there to start out that Georgia Tech game. That's exciting. That game was exciting, I think, for even an outsider, not a Reinhardt alum, not a Reinhardt player, not from the state of Georgia. I still enjoyed seeing that result because that's a big deal. And people, you can downplay, teams playing club teams, whatever it may be, which we can touch on later. But I do think that playing a team like Georgia Tech is tough. And I think to win at home against them when they're an in-state rival is really, really, really good to see. I was pumped to see that score, to be completely honest with you. I wished I was there. I saw your little tweet about offering someone $15 to Facebook Live the game. I wish someone would have taken you up on that because I really, really want to see it now. But I even did, earlier today, I went on Georgia Tech Lacrosse's website. Shout out to whoever does their website, because that's a very well-run MCLA website they have. They got a deep roster. They got guys from all over the place. It looks like they have some out of MCLA transfers in that roster as well. There's some great high schools those guys are coming from. I saw in there. So again, excited. Like I said, go Reinhardt. Like that's pretty exciting. I know you and I were kind of on the edge there. Like we picked Reinhardt to win that game, but I think we were both kind of like, man, we really hope they win this, but we knew it was going to be close. Like, how are you feeling right now as a Reinhardt alum? Like, are you feeling a little proud? Like, what's going on? Like, are you looking at those Georgia Tech fans over there? Like, what now, Reinhardt?
I am. We were pretty excited about it because, we beat them the last time we played a couple years back. I think it was 2019, the year right after I left, and they were kind of downplaying it all. We played a lot of subs and whatnot. And then this time it was kind of like both teams definitely wanted it. There was kind of no doubt in this one. We didn't say the score earlier. It was Reinhardt 13, Georgia Tech 10. I think the biggest thing for me, the takeaway, was the past couple of games we've been seeing Bousquet put up crazy numbers where he's kind of putting up 6, 7, 8 goals, something crazy. He actually only had 1 goal, I think, this game. So it's kind of nice to see Reinhardt still putting up double-digit goals against a very good team with other guys doing it. Specifically, Carter Maurice from the midfield had 4. Wilkinson always gets his. He had 3. And then I think J.R. Sess actually had 1 off the face-off. Just took it straight through the cage as well.
Yeah. That's exciting. And I guess for those of you who are unaware of Georgia Tech and kind of the monster that Reinhardt was playing against, Georgia Tech is a very long-term program. They're one of those, I guess we could say, perennial powerhouses of MCLA lacrosse, if not all of Southern lacrosse. Really, they put together a great roster. They're very, very organized as a program. they are in the MCLA situation, I believe, where there actually are scholarship opportunities or booster grants for players to play on the team. So for those who are not aware, MCLA players at certain schools do get scholarship money in different avenues. So those players are there for a reason. I'll be honest with you. On top of that, it's interesting to look at Georgia Tech and really their record last year and the previous season. I mean, for example, last year, they beat Liberty. Liberty is an MCLA program out of Virginia. They treat all their sports there, whether they be club or varsity, as Division I sports. Liberty plays a game on ESPN every year. Georgia Tech beat Liberty last year. Liberty plays Roanoke and Lynchburg preseason. They're playing really good NCAA teams. So you look at the fact that Georgia Tech beat them last year and they continue to beat a lot of really good powerhouse MCLA teams. I think early on matching them up with Reinhardt was a great measuring stick and a very exciting one. I mean, we saw the tweet there from our buddy Peaches about this is the Naia Lax updates versus varsity lacrosse, the battle, and then somebody it's the battle everyone wanted to see, which is true. I think that's really cool to see two in-state powerhouses from both NAI and MCLA play each other. That was exciting, and I think that was kind of some exciting momentum for all of the NAI lacrosse community. I really felt like there was some good behind that.
Yeah, 100%. That's a big time NAI. Moving on to another NAI versus MCLA matchup. It was kind of the nightcap, so to speak. This one we did have a stream for, so that was something I was really excited for finally in this stream. Grand Valley State took on Lawrence Tech, and Grand Valley won 13-11. What did you see from that one?
Yeah, so this is one that, because there was a stream, got to watch pretty closely. I was hitting the bike and then doing some quad workouts at the gym. So I was watching at the same time, and I'm sure everyone around me is like, what's this guy watching? Because they don't know what lacrosse is. But it was an exciting game to watch. For those who don't know, they were playing out of the Detroit Country Day field house, and just hours prior, Michigan took on Bellarmine on the exact same field. So there was a 2-game situation for college lacrosse at that place, which must have made for a cool atmosphere for the day. Lawrence Tech, kind of from what I could see, started out a little bit flat. It looked more like Grand Valley was kind of dominating early on in the game. I will tell you right now, looking at the roster sizes and the players that were out there, it looks like Grand Valley has a little bit more size than Lawrence Tech, some bigger pulls, some stronger guys. Doesn't always win the battle. But that was kind of an interesting thing to see how those stacked up. Again, Grand Valley, a very organized program. The numbers looked pretty equal. Lawrence Tech, we know, was missing quite a few guys because of COVID protocol, which was unfortunate. But like you had said, they went on, they played the game regardless. I think once their offense started moving and once they started having momentum, especially late in the game from what I was watching, Lawrence Tech was looking good. I think Lawrence Tech was a big question mark for us going into this game because we haven't seen them in a long time. And I'll be honest with you, even missing players, I was pretty impressed with what they did late on with their offense, because that ball was moving well. Guys were dodging from X really well. The midfield was grooving. I really enjoyed that there was a mic on, a very clear mic for this stream, because I heard a lot of chirping going on. I heard a coach telling a kid to calm down, that he was just too excited. So I really enjoyed the noise of lacrosse that was back for that game. But my takeaway is kind of impressed with Lawrence Tech returning like that. How about you?
Yeah, I'm in a pretty similar boat. I mean, as I said, I was just glad they even played that game. I know a lot of teams kind of would have taken the easy way out, but Lawrence Tech said, COVID be damned, we are getting this one in, and we're scrapping till the end. So good for them.
Yeah, that's exciting. And even though they didn't come out on top, late push in the game, there was pictures coming in from like Michigan Lacrosse Report or whatever of that game. Some cool coverage, and obviously to follow up a Michigan game is kind of cool too. But nice little start to the Michigan lacrosse NAI scene in that game there. And again, another in-state battle from two different leagues.
Yeah, shout out, I want to say it's Mitten State Lax, the one who always does those from. So shout out to you. You always take some dope photos. So gotta plug you.
Yeah, we were. I was gonna say, I was looking back through, and they were posting photos from like every quarter with score updates. I was like, this is great. Like, this is what the game needs, is instant photos and updates, because those who weren't watching the game wouldn't have known the score. I don't know what happened with the stream, but it appeared that the stream went from their stretch streaming account to Twitter streaming at one point. So I actually kind of enjoyed the Twitter stream. That was extremely high quality, and it was right there on my feed. So Lawrence Tech athletic department and your sports information director or whoever was doing that, good little audible there. That was kind of fun to watch.
100%. Moving along, do you want to make some picks real quick with me?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Who do we have this week?
So this is going to be an interesting one because most of these games are kind of teams we don't talk about a lot, like
Love it.
NAI. So I'll probably let you pick first because I think some of these teams are closer to you, so you'll probably have a little bit more perspective on these. But we'll start with the NAI one first. So St. Andrews versus Point. Do we need to pick?
Ooh. Okay. Here we go. St. Andrews versus Point. Here goes the points, Jeannie. Here we go. I definitely think St. Andrews is taking this game. I think this will be a very important early on game for St. Andrews because they were receiving top 10 votes. They play Point now, who is 0-2. And so now we're going to see a little bit more about where these teams stack up in the conference. I'm going to take St. Andrews. I'm going to say St. Andrews is going to win 15-6.
All right,
I'm
I
writing
like
this
it.
down.
Yeah, please do. I'm going St. Andrews 22-3. Josie gets another hat trick for Point.
Okay, what did you have again? What was your points?
22-3. St. Andrews.
All right. So we wrote that down there. I think again, we haven't seen St. Andrews yet. We have seen that they have a good number on a roster. They've been practicing left and right. They were getting their early practices in. They're doing their 3-a-days. They posted a picture of a team meal, man. The content's out there. I'm excited to see this one because I think it's an important game kind of for both teams on where they stand in the conference. So looking forward to seeing that one. What do we got next?
Reinhardt goes to SCAD.
Ooh. Okay. You got this one first.
Man, that's an interesting one because I don't think the SCAD offense is quite where it needs to be. I saw they lost 10-2 to Coker in scrimmage. I think Reinhardt's a little bit better than Coker this year, even though Coker obviously has snow. I'm gonna say Reinhardt 17, SCAD 5.
17-5. Okay. I like where your brain's at there. I'm gonna go. I definitely think Reinhardt gets a dominant win here. I don't think SCAD's got a very deep roster right now. If we just look at legs, Reinhardt's got the numbers right now to do so, and they're on some pretty good momentum so far. I'm gonna go Reinhardt 20, SCAD 4.
Okay, I like it. Okay, then moving on to the ones that I'm gonna let you definitely go first on. Augustana versus St. Ambrose.
Yes, I will be at that game. Okay, so Augustana is a Division III team located in Rock Island, Illinois. They are in the middle of the river, right next to Davenport, Iowa. St. Ambrose is from Davenport. This is kind of a rivalry matchup that doesn't happen very often. I can't remember the last time that these two teams played. Obviously, Augustana being a D3 team in a different conference, kind of over there towards Chicago area. A lot of these players play together in the summer. On the Dogfish, we got players from both universities. They know each other. Man, they're going out to the same places at night. So this is kind of an exciting turf battle right here. Augustana is normally a pretty good team, and they normally have pretty good numbers. They compete well in Division III. Ambrose, they had a great season last year. They got the numbers. I got two of my buddies are making their college debuts for Ambrose, so I'm going to lean Ambrose. I think this is going to be a very close game. I'm going to say Ambrose wins this game 12-9.
All right, I like it. I'm going to go Augustana. I don't know much about them. I saw they had a pretty decent year last year. I know they were at least 500. I'm I'm not going to do a score prediction for that one. I just don't know
Okay.
enough.
All right. Well, that's an exciting one. There should be a stream for that, knowing Ambrose. If there's not a stream, I'll make sure to get the people some live clips there. But that's an exciting one. And it's kind of a situation for us here at Clarke. We're a mile away from University of Dubuque, which is a Division III team. Same deal with Ambrose and Augustana. They're turf battles. They're exciting. They're good measuring sticks for lacrosse in your community. So looking forward to that turf battle at Ambrose against Augustana.
All right. Final game, Alma versus Dearborn.
Ooh, boy, that's a good one. Okay. So Alma is a Division III team. They haven't been around for a ridiculous amount of time. They're the Alma Scots. Gosh, I remember getting recruiting emails from them early on in my recruiting journey. They're a good program. They had a lot of success, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. Their leading player, I think, is now their assistant or head coach from those years. So they're kind of in that phase. I don't know if they're in a rebuilding phase or if they're kind of just trying to fit into their conference more. We don't know too much about Dearborn right now, unfortunately. They're also kind of a question mark at this time. I would imagine those two teams are going to stack up pretty even. However, I do feel like giving the edge to Dearborn. They're recruiting against each other pretty much in that area. I'm going to say Dearborn beats Alma maybe like 10-7. I don't think it's going to be a really high scoring game.
Okay, fair enough. Give me Alma 11-9. So we actually have 2 to 6 this week. That's some
wow. Here we are. Wow. Wouldn't have guessed it. Here we are. Okay. Cool. Yeah, no. I think that's 4 cool games to watch. 2 NAI games and then 2 NAI D3 games. All kind of regional matchups, which is kind of cool to see that, I think, as well early on. But also cool for KCAC team, almost Heart of America team, to kick off with an Ambrose game here. And then I think William Penn follows being the next KCAC team. They will take on Cornell, I want to say the 14th. Does that sound right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So we'll touch on that one as that one comes closer. That's another NAI D3 regional matchup as well to be noted. What we got next?
Okay. I wanted to jump ahead to the Twitter questions we got asked.
Oh yeah. I'm pulling them up.
All right. The big one that I know off the top of my head is, should we as the NAI celebrate victories over MCLA teams, particularly the top level ones?
You go first.
I think it's a clear yes. I mean, as we discussed before, teams like Georgia Tech are outstanding. I mean, easily 50-man rosters year in, year out. I think I looked at Georgia Tech's roster and they had 6 coaches this year or something crazy. I mean, that doesn't even happen at the NAI hardly ever. Like, you're lucky to have 2 on some programs. I mean, program of 50 guys, 6 coaches, that's a ton. Those schools have been around a lot longer. Sometimes it's even easier for them to pull in guys. I mean, especially if you're looking to go to a prestigious university in the South, maybe you're not feeling the NAI level education or something like that, which they are quality. But I mean, when you compare that to a program like Georgia Tech, education wise, that's definitely elite. I mean, looking at their roster just from the Georgia perspective, I see some names I recognize for being like all-state players. They had some guys from New York. They're a talented program. And I mean, honestly, I feel like the MCLA still gets a little bit more credit than we do. I mean, they're a lot deeper of a league. I don't know how many teams they have total, but I know MCLA tournament's always huge. Has a ton of teams there. Their ranking system, they list 25 rankings where we only have like 10. So that just kind of shows the difference in the 2 leagues right there.
Yeah. So quick educational background for those watching right now. The difference between MCLA and NAI. Yes, I think media coverage wise, MCLA definitely gets more attention from all major lacrosse publications right now. The MCLA has had articles published, preseason rankings, They're sponsored by New Balance, Warrior, all these different things. They've been around for a long time. And I think on top of that, if we look at the college hockey structure, there's an important lesson to be taken from college hockey compared to NAI, MCLA. The ACHA is the equivalent to the MCLA in collegiate hockey. Big Division I schools don't have varsity hockey programs. They a lot of the times have ACHA programs. Very comparable to MCLA. Those programs do put out guys who go professional in hockey. The MCLA has put out professional lacrosse players. That is a fact. We have yet to really officially do that. I think until we get to a completely leveled point with MCLA, yes. And I think yes, celebrating the wins even more so when they're in-state turf battles. I think that's an exciting thing. I agree, though. I think that can be said against top-ranked MCLA teams, Georgia Tech being top 20, top 10 every year, having guys that go from Division I to MCLA at Georgia Tech. On top of that, a lot of the MCLA teams, as I said earlier, are giving scholarships to players in some amount. And even more so than that, Reinhardt and Georgia Tech are really recruiting from the same base. They're also competing in recruiting. So I think, again, especially in-state battles against top teams from each league, each division, it's important to celebrate those wins and also have some kind of fun hype around them, I guess I would say. But if it's against a low-level MCLA team that kind of barely exists, I don't think it makes much sense to celebrate it. But I think in this case, very much so. You also got to consider with MCLA too is that these teams are essentially recruiting players from schools of 30 to 40,000 students on campus. Even if they're not going out and recruiting kids, which I know Georgia Tech does go out and actually recruit kids like varsity programs, even if they're not, they have 30 to 40,000 students on a campus to draw from. So there's a pretty big base to draw from right there. Again, there's high-level MCLA programs and there's really low-level MCLA programs. And there's other independent leagues lower than the MCLA that are really club lacrosse. I think MCLA is club lacrosse, but with the moves they make where MCLA can now have teams at schools with D1 programs and kind of have both. For example, Air Force now has an MCLA program as well. I think the MCLA continues to get more and more legit, and it's a place where players are actually seeking out to play their lacrosse at MCLA schools. I think until we're at an even point with them, celebrating makes sense. And I think it makes even more sense from a fan perspective. The MCLA is very recognized by a lot of players and coaches right now, whereas the NAI is still in a growth position. For example, if I would have told my coach in high school that I was going to go play at a top level MCLA program, he would have been like, sick. That's awesome. Like, yeah, great program. Know the guys, blah, blah, blah. If I told him I was going to go to an NAI school, he'd be like, oh, that's dumb. You're wasting your time. Where is that? So there's still a discrepancy in programs and notability, really notoriety. And I think until we're at a more level playing field with the MCLA, it does make sense to celebrate because that's how you end up in media publications right now. Every coach make your own decision, to each their own. Totally get that. But I think in the case of Reinhardt, Georgia Tech, it's an in-state turf battle. It's two very good teams hashing it out. That score alone shows that, because if a team scores that many on Reinhardt, they're a pretty damn good team. Like, just going to say it right now, that alone shows the caliber of that team.
Right, exactly. And I mean, a lot of these MCLA, especially D1 ones, like they can absolutely move to D2, D3 if they wanted. I mean, and they'd compete right away. Like, why you wouldn't be ranked in D2, D3? You're crazy.
Well, I mean, look at Davenport. Look at DU. Davenport was an NAI and MCLA team before becoming D2. A lot of good D2 teams transfer from 1 year in the MCLA to the next year being in the Division II level, and they do just fine. I mean, come on, like look at Utah. Utah went from being MCLA to Division I in really a season, and they are competing very well in Division I lacrosse. If we can't acknowledge that, if there's nothing else we can acknowledge tonight, teams can jump from MCLA to NCAA divisions or NAI and do just fine, because Utah's roster still has quite a few of their MCLA guys. Like, that alone should show us the legitimacy of that organization.
Agreed. And then moving on, next question was, What would be the next couple of states you'd like to see at NAIA lacrosse?
Okay, you go first. You got it. I want to hear yours.
The couple that come to mind, some I'm gonna put that already have them. I just think they should add a couple more. And then the one that I think, just from kind of a Southern perspective, is I think we should try and get some teams. I don't even know what colleges it would be. I'm not like an expert on like what NAIA programs that don't have teams are out there. But I mean, we have them in Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina. You know where we don't have one? South Carolina. So I think that'd be a big one we could move into. If we get a couple teams there, that'd be big. Specifically here in Georgia, I'd love for Life to add a men's team. Their women's program is pretty new and they're already perennial ranked in the top 10. I think you could build a solid men's team right in there because they're kind of in the Marietta, Atlanta area too. So definitely good recruiting base. Also, maybe adding another one in like Indiana or Ohio would be good too. What are your thoughts?
Number one, Ohio. Growing up there, I can tell you we have a lot of lacrosse, and that lacrosse continues to grow and grow and grow. There's kids playing box lacrosse for their high schools in the off season, which I did. There's constant lacrosse in the state of Ohio now, and it's growing to areas in Ohio that didn't have lacrosse 10 years ago. So I think there's a lot of college lacrosse programs in Ohio across the levels. There's a few Division II, not a lot, but there's a few. You have Cleveland State, you have Ohio State Division I, you have a ton of Division III schools. If you like growing up in Ohio and playing high school lacrosse, you're going to get emails from 15, 20 D3 teams in state or right outside the state. So there's a lot of lacrosse, but I think there's a lot of room for NAI to stretch into Ohio. There's also quite a few NAI institutions already in Ohio. I think of Rio Grande is a school in Ohio. They are an NAI soccer powerhouse. They actually allow their kids to play JUCO. They play in the NJCAA the first 2 years, and then the second 2 years they're varsity and they play in the NAI, and it works very, very well for their athletics. I think they would do really well adding a lacrosse program, but I think there's a lot of NAI schools in Ohio that could add lacrosse and compete right away. And you need more. For example, with looking at Mount Vernon being kind of independent this year, if they had more teams in state aside from just them and Lords, they would be able to do a lot better, I think. And I think that's a big piece of it. So Ohio's number one. I think very much close to that. Number two, being Colorado. Colorado's in a similar situation to Ohio. There's a lot of lacrosse and it continues to grow. I personally have a feeling that a lot of the Division II teams in Colorado really should be more like Division III teams, or I think they would compete well in the NAI, because a lot of their D2 teams there don't really do very good points wise against other D2 teams. So I think whether some of those transfer to NAI, there was Johnson and Wales for a long time. That was a NAI school there, kind of folded. But I do think there's a lot of opportunity for NAI lacrosse in Colorado. And then lastly, if we're gonna expand west, obviously if we're going to go north, I would love to say New York, but New York is oversaturated right now with a lot of lacrosse. It always has been. It's an awesome place, and there's a lot of Division III, a lot of Division II, and a lot of Division I. So getting that talent would be hard to jump into. But California, I really do think I love what Westcliff was going to do, and I think if you had a lot more teams start at once instead of just one team, you could pull it off right away, because there's a lot of MCLA teams in California that are at NAI institutions or could be NAI institutions already. I think there's a great opportunity for NAI lacrosse in California. Again, the biggest barrier is geographic location and travel. They would have to travel to the Midwest or the South predominantly for games. But if you had more teams add, you could do it pretty quick in California. So Ohio, Colorado, California, those are my team. Those are my states. We're going to see teams. I think we talked about Arkansas is adding a team. Missouri's adding another team. There's going to be a lot of NAI lacrosse growth in these coming years. Mark my words. And I would also just say, I think NAI growth in general, not just lacrosse.
I thought of one more state that we definitely should include: Minnesota.
Hey, that's a great point, man. Yeah. Why do you say that?
I mean, you just constantly see teams, especially in the Midwest, kind of pull from there. So I think if they had one, they could get it up and running pretty quick.
I agree. And I think I think people fail to understand the proximity of the geographic location to say our area of Iowa to Minnesota. It's a few hours. It's a 3 to 4 or 5 hour drive. You could even add a team in Wisconsin and you're 5 miles from us here at Clarke. You're an hour and 10 minutes from St. Ambrose. So I agree. I think Minnesota could be good. And I would even say Wisconsin could be good because they're adding D3 programs. So that would make sense.
All right, moving right along. What does the NAI look like in 5 to 10 years?
Ooh. Are we thinking number of teams or recognition or both?
I guess both.
I think recognition wise, we are in a 10 to 15 times better spot than we are right now. As more and more kids get recruited, play their 4 years, and graduate at NAI schools, those kids go out, become coaches, coach high school programs, much like you're doing. The rep of NAI lacrosse gets better and better and better with the kids that graduate from NAI institutions, go out there, spread the NAI love. That alone grows the NAI a massive amount in the next 5 to 10 years. I also think as more athletic directors see that their conferences are adding lacrosse or teams in their conferences are adding lacrosse, much like the KCAC switching to the Heart of America, you're going to see a lot more teams start to pop up left and right. There's more kids playing lacrosse. There's more kids playing lacrosse, especially in the South and the Midwest. And if you can give them a place to play and a home for 4 years to play college lacrosse and a scholarship, they're there. They're 100% there. So I think it's 5 to 10 years. Let's say 10 years from now, double the size of what it is right now. 5 years, at least 10 to 15 more teams.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. I think 5 years from now, we easily hit 45, 50 teams. 10 years, there's no reason to think we couldn't be at least at 60. I think the one thing that you'll see different, and don't quote me on this, I have no info at all. I think you'll be surprised. I think some of our powerhouse teams will actually move on to being D2 and D3 programs. So I would not be shocked if you told me 5 years from now, Indiana Tech, Reinhardt, Lawrence Tech are all Division 2, Division 3. I mean, with Lawrence Tech, some of the stuff they do, like hockey-wise and other sports, it wouldn't even surprise me if they somehow managed to go D1 at some point in the future. Maybe not 5 to 10 years, but.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of what happens with those teams is predicted by what happens with the Division I lacrosse landscape. If it stays where it is right now, you're not going to see it grow much. But if teams are adding there, then teams will make the jump from other divisions. Here's a question for you, recognition-wise. When do we see the first NAI D1 preseason scrimmage?
That's a very good question. How soon does Snow leave Coker for Mercer or something like that? Probably, because I think that happens. You go year one, schedule that right off the bat. I say that half jokingly, but other than that, I mean, it really just depends on kind of what kind of connections the coaches have. We can find a good lower end D1 program to face one of our like better D1 teams.
I'm saying it right now. A lot of NAI teams, if they reached out and offered to play Hampton in a preseason matchup, it would be growth promoting for both teams. Hampton's got a good roster this year. Nothing against their coach. He's a great guy. But I do think it would be growth promoting for both because they're scheduling a lot of D2 and D3 teams on their regular season. If we really wanted to make a D1 NAI matchup happen, I'm telling you right now, I think Hampton would be the school that would be interested in the growth promotion of it and also just open to the fact of playing somebody outside the NCAA. The only thing that comes to mind is I don't know. I feel like a lot of the decisions of NCAA teams playing NAI teams comes from an athletics department standpoint. And I think it comes down to whether that school is willing to approve it or not. But I will say, like, for example, Hampton played Teal College in Pennsylvania, a school I'm familiar with, a D3 team in their first year. And that wasn't something anybody expected. But I think that would happen. I could even see like VMI playing a good team, a good NAI team. People don't realize how many teams there are in Division I lacrosse that would just love to get a game with most people. And especially a preseason game. I definitely could see the Reinhardt Mercer matchup. That would make sense. But there's a lot of teams in Division One that I'm telling you, all you NAI coaches, listen up out there. If you got a 30 to 40 man roster and you're within a few hours of a Division One team that you know a coach or you have an in, make it happen. I mean, it doesn't matter what the score is. It would be really fun to see an NAI D1 matchup and just let the guys have that opportunity.
I could also see Weber with the coach they have now maybe somehow getting Jacksonville to agree to that.
I agree. And that's true, because that's another program. That's really pro sport growing. They want to see the sport of lacrosse grow, and I think that's important. And you got to love coaches the Division I level who appreciate that and are willing to make the sport grow outside of NCAA. So I think within 3 years we see an NAI D1 matchup preseason. I really do, and I hope to see that.
It happens in basketball.
It does, and it does quite often. That's the thing that people don't realize is outside of lacrosse, the NAI and Division I play quite a bit. I mean, I think about Columbia College. They beat St. Louis men's soccer, SLU, and they were ranked top 10 in the nation, Division I, and Columbia went in and beat them. So NAI D1 matchups happen all the time outside of lacrosse. It's just, I mean, guys, it's time. Like, let's see a good NAI team take on a D1 team preseason. That is going to help us growth and recognition wise more than anything you'll imagine.
Yeah, I would definitely enjoy watching that. And
but I should also add, whoever decides to take on that battle, please be prepared, because an NAI team getting shelled by 30 goals is not going to help. That's not going to help.
I think I would have to delete the Twitter. I'm kidding on that one, but it would be. All right, my final question that I got on Twitter: sleeper teams this year that could compete for like a title.
Ooh, compete for a title or a conference championship.
Yeah, that's fair.
Dang, this is such a hard one. I think Lawrence Tech's going to do better than they got ranked.
For sure.
After seeing that just one game, knowing they didn't have some of their guys, I think Lawrence Tech's going to do a lot better than people expected, and I'm excited for them for that. So I think Lawrence Tech's kind of a sleeper right now, if you really want to call him that. Weber is not really a sleeper, but I think Weber is going to even break expectations of what people had for them. In the KCAC, we kind of still sit in a similar spot with powerhouse teams. I think William Penn's going to do really well. I think William Penn and St. Ambrose both are going to do better than people expected. I mean, St. Ambrose has a lot of support, but I wouldn't be totally shocked to see them jump Columbia and Benedictine and all the other teams and do well in a national setting. I really wouldn't. What else do we have? AAC. Yeah, I think Weber's my pick. I don't even remember, where was Weber in the preseason poll for AAC?
I believe they're fifth.
Fifth. Yeah. See, I gotta think Weber's going to finish higher than fifth. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I guess from my perspective, I only looked at it as a national title thing. And when you go for the national title, I don't really think it's just the top of the league has gotten to a point where they're so consistent. You're not really going to see a team kind of just jump in there and win it straight away. But I think, so right now, I think we can probably agree that Reinhardt and Indiana Tech are the two clear favorites, at least from my perspective. But just behind them, my two sleepers who I could easily see pulling it off would be a team like Cumberland's with that attack unit they got coming back and the stud midfield they have. And then also, this is just kind of breaking to me, Jake Morgan, the all-star LSM, back at Cumberland's. So that just solidified their defense like tenfold, because that guy alone, he's a monster. I mean, he's the closest thing to a D1 like player we probably have at this moment.
That's a good one. That's
them right back in contention, in my point. Like, he does that much for that defense. And then I wouldn't be surprised if St. Ambrose is a lot better than we think they are. I think they got a pretty talented D2 transfer from, I want to say, Montevallo. defense. That should help the defense out a little bit. Offense should be lights out still. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them in the Final Four again.
I agree. I do very much think Ambrose is going to stir it up this year. And I think it is kind of anyone's game right now in the KCAC in the top 4 or 5 teams right now. So I think that's going to be an interesting one. I think the WAC is also kind of in a similar situation, excluding Indiana Tech. Indiana Tech, in my mind, is the clear leader there. I think Concordia could be hot in their tail. I think Lawrence Tech, again, is going to be way better than people thought, or just lack of knowing what they'd be. And again, we haven't seen anything from Dearborn. There's no reason that I would rank them really high right now, but we haven't seen Dearborn and we really haven't seen Madonna. They are 2 programs that we don't know too much about at the moment.
Yeah, the one thing for Madonna I will also touch on is I didn't realize that Tyler Killar was back for that midfield. So that'll be huge as well. I mean, they posted something about kind of their all-time points leader. He's right up there in the top 5. So getting him back, that'll really help out because I mean they'll have him, Rush, and Gengel. So
I know they're in a good spot.
Anything else you want to cover today?
I think that does it. We gave the people a 45-minute episode for when they're watching this Monday to start off the week. Hopefully, you guys will have some more content coming out here via YouTube, Twitter, and then likely on Lax All Stars this week as well. So we kind of have some more NAI stuff coming your way pretty quick. If you guys enjoy the podcast, please share, pass on to your NAI lacrosse homies. Send it to a parent if they don't know about NAI lacrosse at the moment. Get people on board. We're just trying to spread the message, grow the brand a little bit, and connect with you guys that much more. The season is really, it's arrived. We're looking at real matchups coming up kind of in the next week or so. We start in a few weeks here at Clarke, so I'll be back to playing games. Everything's in motion, guys. The world is no longer on pause. Lacrosse is here to stay. So we're pumped for that.
Yeah, and if you want to give us a like on the podcast, that would go a long way. Just kind of getting, the more likes we get, the more kind of random folks we'll get viewing the YouTube. So it goes a long way, guys.
That's right. Amen to that.
All right. Until next time, guys.
See you guys.